So quick tip, when you're spraying clear coat over your base layer, the first coat you put it on really lightly like I'm about to do, just so that it has coverage everywhere but it's not really a wet coat. What that's going to do is it's going to make kind of like an adhesion layer, so that the next layers you can put on really thick, so you'll only really have to do like 2 or 3 more coats at most to have a nice thick layer of clear coat that's going to actually stick to the panel and won't run off, and that'll keep you from getting all those runs that people tend to get. Alright, it's been about 10 minutes since I put that first coat on. It's starting to tack up, so now I'm going to start laying down the wet coats. Moved around in here, but it's all the same stuff. The finish on these turned out pretty good. Everything is nice and smooth. It's a lot like the body was. The only thing that I got clear coat runs on was the bumper, but it's actually not on the side. It was just down in this area, and I managed to clean it up for the most part with some tape. Other than that, everything came out pretty smooth. I'm not super happy with my masking job on this bumper trim. I definitely need to get some more practice in on that. But what I'm gonna do to clean up all this edging is I'm just gonna tape it off right around this edge, and I'm just gonna respray the trim to Sem Black, and that'll clean up those edges a little bit, make it look better at least. The worst thing that happened is this door got a little bit of debris in it from the heater running. It was just right under it. I didn't realize that I was gonna have that much dust from it, but I got most of it cleaned up. What's left right now, I'm pretty certain I can clean up with buffing. But yeah, overall everything turned out great, and I'm just gonna get it all buffed out soon and put it all back in the car. I gotta get this sunroof panel all back together. And all I got left to do is the hood. Alright guys, so here's the bumper all finished. I got the trim recoated in Sem Trim Black. Everything else is unmasked, obviously. This one turned out probably even better than, well actually definitely in my opinion even better than the front bumper. I didn't have the same issues with the weird sort of the bad lines around the trim, because this time I used a different kind of tape, which is over here. Maybe not. Here it is. I use this tape, which is like a it's like a flexible, more of like a rubber masking tape, and so this was able to make the lines a lot cleaner. So if you're ever trying to do you know, tight work like this, you want to get clean lines, this is the stuff you want. I wasn't able to finish the hood, unfortunately, because while I was about, say, I was probably like over 3/4 of the way done with the base coat on it. And I don't know if you can pick it up on camera, but right now there's like a pretty obvious line right here because I ran out of paint, so I had to go to the store a couple days later, pick up new paint, so I have enough to finish this with now. And so I just got to scuff this down really quick, do the last coat of paint over it so everything's even and consistent, let that dry for a little bit, do the clear coat, and then this paint job will be done. Now, before anybody asks why I didn't bother painting the underside of the sunroof panel, I don't know if I explained it earlier or not, but the primer I used is called Epoxy primer, and it works kind of like an etching primer. Like, you can use it in place of etching primer, and it will actually seal the metal on its own. You don't, like, you could paint a car with Epoxy primer and then never put anything else on top of that, and that car would not rust unless you left something untreated beneath it. So I didn't bother painting this just to save on paint because the paint is pretty expensive. It's like $100 a quart. So I figured because this is all going to be hidden, I just didn't bother adding it. Well guys, the day has finally come. I'm officially 99.9% done with this car. All I gotta do is just glue on that trim piece on the door, and then this thing is ready to be brought back to its new owner, to its owner, that is. It turned out really good overall. I'm super happy with how I did on this paint job. This is probably only like the 3rd or 4th car, maybe 5th car that I've painted. So I think I'm doing pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with the results, how I'm progressing as a painter. As you can see, this whole thing turned out super straight, despite the fact that the roof used to be crushed in and all the welding had to be done. The doors, everything lines up perfectly. Both sides even close without any issues at all. Really, the only issue that I had with this thing, with final assembly, was for some reason the hood doesn't line up all that well. For some reason this side sticks up a little bit, and I've tried pretty much everything I can think of to make that line up better, but for some reason it just doesn't want to sit down any further than that. So I'm just going to send it off the way it is. Really nothing's wrong with it, just the you know, the body lines aren't perfect overall. This fender is an aftermarket fender. I think that's the biggest reason why this one curves in too much on this side. But yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to the guy today. I've got my Subaru all loaded up with a car dolly, getting ready to take it back. And then this guy is gonna be finishing the build on this thing, and this thing is finally gonna be back on the road. And I'm super excited to see it while I'm driving around.